Wasn't I just sitting here a moment ago? Or was that a week or a month? As I open into now, really awake to breathing in, there may well be thoughts, but let us not toil with them. Let's not create suffering just because there's thoughts. There may be an emotional tone. Let's not create suffering because there's an emotional tone. Remembering our intention to take refuge in being the Buddha. Let's pull back the projection that someone a long time ago achieved something that is beyond us. We sit beneath the Bodhi tree, each of us, right now. Let us be awake to the life of the body. Remembering Ruth Denison, whose 99th birthday was yesterday, and how she emphasized, come home, dare to be in your body. Notice this in-breath. Notice that the beginning of the breath is long gone by fullness. And fullness is long gone by ending. there is no lasting with anything. It is all anicca. Noticing the life in the hands and fingers. Let go of the words hands and fingers and be in life. We sit in noble company. Millions of others have and are walking this path, sitting this path. right here in the present moment. The 5 hindrances may be putting in an appearance, or they may be dominant. Having them close by, having those concepts close by, is extremely helpful when we're lost in them. When the trance of desire is up, wanting, I could be happy if I could just have this. Wanting. Or not wanting. I could be happy if I weren't having this. If this weren't my experience. If there were something else. Restlessness, agitation, and worry. If I could just figure it out, everything would be okay. If I could just understand why she, he, they do this, or I do this. Perhaps I should read some more. Restlessness, agitation, worry. What if this happens? Or sloth and torpor, sleepy dullness. Hard to stay awake, no energy, slumping. Or doubt itself, skeptical doubt. What purpose does it serve to sit here doing this? Why not be active? And so we notice these colorations or flavors of mind. The very noticing cuts them off at the roots. They may come back. But the Buddha sits here and notices. Notices the unfolding of the Dharma, of the way things are. Letting each breath be a beacon in the present moment. resting back in this moment where there is really nothing to do. Awareness is the natural state. And the awareness receives the body, or the body exists in awareness. Sounds arise in awareness. Thoughts arise in awareness. So we abide in this knowing, this presence. And we have our foundational intentions. Refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha. And I aspire to love and accept myself, or the experience of this moment exactly as it is, which changes the game completely. So we let go of self-improvement. More kindness, more attentiveness, more compassion will naturally come. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am right now. And given the nature of this life, on those occasions when I discover myself hurting, suffering, wishing things were different, lonely, depressed, anxious, whatever it is, we turn toward it. Physical suffering, the suffering of illness. I aspire to hold myself in sweet compassion. noticing how mindfulness springs into being. The trance falls away. And then some trance reasserts itself. A fantasy, a hope, a fear. And so we sit in the midst of awakening. When the sound went away at this end, there was a brightly lit button on this mixer that I'm learning how to use that said mute, which I forgot I'd pushed. So, and yesterday I received an email with a beautiful, powerful quote in it. It's from a young person named Julian Baker. They is young, 30-something, several albums. But she said this: all my negative coping mechanisms, compulsively praying, drinking till I black out, running till I have knee injuries, they're all just ways to push away my anxieties. Man, I went for so much therapy, and the most useful thing I've learned wasn't a practice. For so many years, I've heard people say, if you drink more water, if you meditate, if you take this course or read this book, then this will happen. And what I've learned is that part of being alive is just tolerating discomfort and uncertainty, she says. You have a thought and you just sit with it. The more you do to it, the better you can roll with the punch. The more you do it, sit with it, the better you can roll with the punches of life. When you're sad, you accept it. You don't rush to apply some meaning. You don't rationalize. You just sit with it. Pooh. I listened to some of her music, and it's not something that I would tune into much, but a wise young person. Spontaneous Dharma. So I think that's what I want to say today. I'm grateful for your being here to practice together. I'm going to go in to where I think I will hear you if you speak. And I would be grateful to hear what's happening in your life.
Testing, testing.
Looks good. Sounds good, Jim. Huh. Looks like it's even working on Facebook and YouTube. It's a double header or something.
Hi, Robert.
Hello, Joy.
Hi. Appropriate messages today because yesterday I was in a board meeting for an organization I volunteer for, and I made a mistake and made a decision that the board was horrified by, and I'm kind of upset because I want to be that wondrous person who's wonderful. Instead, I think I might be that person in the group that all groups seem to have, who's kind of a problem, and I'm kind of unhappy with myself for being a problematic person.
That's a big badge to put on yourself.
I know. Well, you know how it is. Where I don't know. Well, groups are like that, right?
Those are big generalizations.
Oh,
Joy.
yes.
So you're feeling ashamed?
I guess because I want to be like, oh wow, what a great volunteer.
I see.
Instead, it's like, oh my God, why did she do this?
And can I push a little bit?
Oh yeah, sure.
How do you know that's what they're thinking? It could be that you're thinking it.
I am thinking it, but I kind of assume they're thinking it too.
I wonder what the odds are that they're thinking what you think they're thinking.
Whew, that's complicated.
I was rather proud of it when I said it.
I don't know. I recently, anyway, there's just a problem, and it came from an error of judgment. Mm-hmm.
Well, may I suggest, I have a very potent practice, which I may have shared with you before, but you ready?
Yeah.
It goes like this. Watch closely. Human again. And then rein in all the thinking to the best of your ability. And maybe check out with somebody. Maybe have a confidant in the group that you can check with and see if you're really correct. Because, I mean, I can be completely convinced of that I believe things are happening a certain way and people are something, and they're not at all.
Yes, that's happened to me. Well, I assumed during a meditation practice, when awareness is the goal, that I would become more aware of things, but I still feel somewhat oblivious to things that are going on. Mm-hmm. Like, isn't the meditation supposed to make us more perfect?
I don't think so. I think it's to make us more aware of what is, and I think we're all pretty imperfect.
Yeah.
And we have. You may remember I have this is probably one of my top 10 quotes. It's from Why Good People Do Bad Things. Great book. It's not the book Why Bad Things Happen to Good People, that I don't recommend, but this is by James Hollis, a wonderful Jungian man. And it starts like this. The I that I know does not know enough to know that it does not know enough. which is a kind of tricky phrase. The I that I know does not know enough to know that it does not know enough. And then the next page or so, he says this. Very straightforward, but Jungian, it's Jungian depth psychology. The conscious ego is a fragile island floating on a vast sea of unconsciousness that we call the psyche. There exist within the psyche autonomous complexes, which can and do overrun the ego.
Wow.
Autonomous. I heard this 30 years ago or 20 years ago, and it was like, whoa, because he's right. There's parts of us that are autonomous that the ego doesn't really know about. It certainly doesn't have control of them. And if we want to test if that's true, we can ask ourselves this question. I love to do this. We could maybe have a show of hands. Please raise your hand if there are any addictions or compulsions that you know you'd be better off without, but you continue to do them.
Me.
Look around.
Oh,
Look at that. Look at that.
yeah.
So why don't you stop that? It's bad. It's disgusting. It's not right. It's expensive. It's a waste. It's not on the path, etc. All those words. But so where's that come from? The I that I know does not know enough to know that it does not know enough. And so there's parts of us that and the way they're revealed is sometimes in a board meeting we say something really off the wall, or in a relationship we're suddenly angry, or we're constantly having these complexes revealed, and that's very much a part of the practice.
Ooh.
And over right. Actually, I've got a funny cartoon. I won't go look for it now, but it shows a guy walking. There's a door, and it says it says self-discovery class, and he's standing up straight when he goes in, and then when he comes out, he's all kind of slumped over. It's like, oh shit, what did I find?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of us we need to unfold, and I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am. It's crucial. Because we have shadow parts of ourselves that are not so nice. And I can get so caught up in what this person thinks of me, or what, and then it turns out it's completely a fabrication sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes right out of childhood.
Wow. John Jeff calls the people in our personality the committee.
Right.
And then there's these alliances and factions that try and influence events.
Yeah.
The committee. I thought that was a good image too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the unknown beings inside us.
Yeah.
Very, very unsettling.
It is very unsettling to the ego to discover one of these split off parts. It can be very unsettling. But then we have the opportunity to initiate dialogue with that part, and to welcome it home.
Yeah. I think also it might create compassion for other people.
Yeah.
Maybe,
absolutely.
Mitigate some of our desire to criticize other people's bad decisions, so we can feel superior to them.
Right. I really like the I'm really touched by the sincerity and honesty of your explorations, Joy.
Oh, thank you. I'll mention that to the board, that I have an endorsement by Robert Beatty.
Okay, see if it works. Give them all a copy of my book.
Yes, and I'll explain how they really need to have some compassion.
Exactly. Oh, you're getting this really fast.
Yes, yes. Thank you,
Though
Robert.
you could also tell them you have compassion for them. Start like that. Start with that.
I could say, I see that you're judgmental, you're still trapped in your egos, but I can help you.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're hot now.
It's a labyrinth, human relations.
It
Is it
is.
worth it? Is it worth it?
That's another question.
Anyway, I'll let someone else ask the question. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back, Robert.
Hello, Joe.
It's Joe. And welcome back to the fun of the electronic medium. That was an adventure. But mostly I wanted to say that I've caught myself many times being so sure of what others thought of me and recognizing that it's all a fabrication is definitely unsettling when you start to see it. Sitting with Sangha has helped immensely to recognize that the ability to cope with making mistakes for me gets easier and easier as I learn to accept myself just as I am. And once I started getting over that, I started to recognize that I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't make a mistake. And I've quit worrying so much about that I made a mistake, but accept it as part of my life, part of that wonderful bit of humanity of being alive, that I'm going to make mistakes and it's just part of what I do. And I'm not as good as others maybe, but I can accept that I make mistakes and that's part of who I am. And it becomes much less of an ordeal and more of a, oh, well. And I think what truly helps for me is, and I may not have gotten there without relaxing and meditating and just learning to accept things as they are. And that's come from being around people in Sangha like we have with you, is that the ability to accept my flaws and my faults and to do so with a little good humor and recognize that, in and of itself, sometimes some of my greatest self-discoveries have come from a mistake that I made. If I hadn't made the mistake, I wouldn't have seen it. And then I wouldn't have thought about it and wouldn't have opened up to it. So I guess mostly thank you for the constant reminders and reassurances that we all go through this, we all learn from it, and doing so together with good hearts and good wills make us all a little happier and a little stronger. It makes us a community. And so I'm just grateful and so glad you're back, and just so glad to be able to sit every day with everyone here and learn, especially from my mistakes. And hang in there, Joy. It's part of what we are, I guess.
Thanks, Joe. I had a funny association, a strange association as you were talking. I grew up in a railroad family. My grandfather was a lineman, and my father worked on the railroad, and so did I for several years. First digging ditches and climbing telegraph poles. And so I was very enamored of the railroad, and particularly the Canadian Pacific Railroad. And there's this story, I can't remember who it was now, but they wanted to run a transcontinental railroad through the Rockies. And there were two guys, one or two, who took it upon themselves to find the way. And it took them, I think, 2.5 years. They kept trying to figure out, how do we get through here? And they'd go up one valley and they'd try to get here and they'd come up against this wall. But they made that mistake. And then they could say, oh, it's not this way. And then they went up another valley and it's like, oh, damn, this doesn't. But then they knew, and they finally found a way to get through there. But I think that's true in our lives. That the only way we find, I mean, we can learn things from other people, but the really big things always come from making a mistake. In fact, there was a wonderful therapist, a writer. Sheldon Kopp was his name. He got a brain tumor with a 2-year diagnosis. 2 year. They said he would be dead in 2 years, and he wrote 3 books. And one of them was specifically for therapists. And he said, and it was that every really big lesson that he learned as a therapist cost him a client. Because he blew it somehow. Just made a fatal, a mistake that was too big to come back from. And I have experienced that to be true in relationships too. It's like sometimes you don't know, and then you find out. So thank you for sharing, Joe, and for the welcome back.
Hello. My name is Anna, and it's the first time that I come.
Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. So I just wanted to say thank you. This was great, and I hope that I'll continue to come.
Great. From where are you coming? From where are you speaking?
I am in Portland, in Oregon.
Oh, good.
Hi, Annie. Annie invited me. This was great because I've been trying to do some meditation now for a while, but I want something more constant and professionally done, if that's a word for meditation, but more knowledgeable about that instead of just me finding out things. So
great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And by December, you'll be able to join Annie and come to the center when we open again.
Awesome.
Yeah. Where do you live in the city?
I live actually in Fairview, just in the outside of Portland.
Which way is that? East, north?
Fairview, yeah, east. In East County.
Well, the center won't be far for you then. Great. Well, thanks for speaking up, Anna.
Good morning, Robert and Sangha.
Hello, Karen. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I am really enjoying the conversation. Joy, I thought I was the problem child. I think that's kind of a universal thing, but I just appreciate everybody's openness. And I really enjoyed that poem that you read. And I was wondering if you could either read it, maybe when we sign off, or give me the name of the author.
I don't think that would work, but let me. Are you on the listserv?
I don't know.
It's PIMC Connections.
I don't think so, but I can get on it.
Okay. Why don't I? Anybody else interested in it to have a copy of that? Okay. I will put it on my blog. As I promise this, and then I don't do it, But I'm going to put it on my blog as soon as we close the session. There. I said I would.
Okay. Thank you.
It's going to be very awkward to do the rest of the session with my fingers crossed to remember.
I can remind you.
Okay, do. If it doesn't show up in my blog today, in the next half hour, let me know. That'd be good. Okay. And the blog is at robertbeatty.com/blog or robertbeatty.com, and then you just look for blog and click there.
Okay.
Blog, what an odd word.
Good morning, Robert. It's Dave Mayer.
Dave Mayer.
I was sitting here having a Joy Hubert moment, and have it because Joy really touched something in me, and I was going to respond, and I said, no, everybody here, I just talk too much. I talk too much. You know, people say, oh, that Dave, he's just talking too much, and it was nice. I recognized it for what it is. Look, an autonomous process. And that's the thing, you've used that quote before, and an autonomous process, it's hard to get your mind around it. But the challenge is recognizing quote unquote truth versus, it's an autonomous process. And that's what meditation really has helped me do. It just as right now, I was saying, no, I talk too much, blah, blah, blah. And then, and could see the sensation come up. It was proputiating all throughout. And the one thing that I have found really useful when I'm faced with these judgments that I know are out there is I'm the only one who's having the conversation.
Right.
And that's how I test it. Am I the only one having this conversation? Yeah, I'm the only one having this conversation. And it's true with shame. Suddenly I'm just enveloped in shame. I'm thinking, wait, who's shaming? I'm the only one shaming here. And it doesn't necessarily get rid of the autonomous process, but it allows me to detach from it. It's not me, it's not I. It gives me some space, and I can just kind of watch it. And it works in the other direction. If I'm sitting here thinking that somebody in this group is just talking too much, wait, that's me having this conversation. What am I trying to say to myself when I say that? It's not about the other. If I'm having a judgment, what am I saying to myself? Which also helps me deal with judgments from other people, because that means, when people are having judgments, perhaps they're speaking to themselves rather than to me. And these are just orientations that help me detach from the autonomous process that's erupting inside me. So I just share that joy. I live your experience.
Oh dear, David. Oh dear. Are you almost done?
Okay. The leave button's right over here. I'll go away in my self-inflicted shame.
I hope you heard that with all the quotes around it that I intended. I love you. You're such a poster child for the Dharma, waking up and facing really difficult obstacles and keeping at it and being vulnerable. Really, you just moved. Where'd you go? Like, oh, there you are. You're up over there now. I thank you, David. Dharma searcher.
Thank you.
Anna, you just requested to be on the listserv. I'm going to grab that. I'll send you an email. Copy that. I'm going to do that and put it where I can find it. All right. There we go. I feel very efficient doing that. There we go. All right. I'm back.
Hi, Robert. It's Birch.
Hi, Birch.
Hi, everybody. Only reason I'm speaking because my heart is racing. I am so pissed off at another Sangha member, no, not anybody here, that is pissed off at me. I'm just in the trance mode of all of a sudden the seemingly innocuous moment sprung into a reevaluation of the relationship. The situation was, I'd asked for a phone number and I was asked why I wanted that phone number, and I only told half a truth. because I knew if I told the whole truth, that the person I needed the phone number for was going to say something that could negatively affect a very large process that could affect a lot of other people. And sure enough, the person did exactly what I thought they would. But then they had the nerve to phone me back and say, this is such a drama, and I can't believe I'm going on about it. But they had the nerve to say, I'm angry at you for not telling me the whole truth. And I said, the reason I didn't tell you the whole truth is because I didn't trust you that you wouldn't keep your mouth quiet about something that didn't even really involve you, that you had a judgment over my choice, which is here to actually help a lot of other people potentially, a lot of other people. And your judgment influenced or could influence somebody that has the potential to help a lot of people. So I feel I'm in this moral superior ground. And all of a sudden, this deep relationship I've had for the last 4 years, I'm just evaluating them and kind of going, oh my God, they're a bully. Oh my goodness, there are all these other things that I just don't want to have in my life anymore. So I'm clearly in the trance. I'm in a heightened state of reaction. It just feels like a wet knot that's hard to pull apart. And part of me is enjoying it all. I love this moral indignation feeling. And I hate it at the same time because it takes up way too much time when I'd really just like to get back to the project that's unfolding in a really, up until this moment, a really beautiful, mysterious way. So that's my blah, blah, blah.
Powerful stuff, huh? Thank you for sharing that.
I just maybe needed to say it out loud. I don't know where it's going to go, but
Isn't it remarkable after after all the personal growth work you've done and all the meditation to still be this crazy at times? I mean, it's I marvel at it in myself sometimes. Like, look at this I'm in this frenzy. And then but however, you do isn't it wonderful also that you can see it? And you see it clearly enough that you're willing to share it with a little humor and give the gift of that to all of us. It's cool.
Well, I'm inspired by Joy. Thank you, Joy.
Did you see how Joy looked up? What?
If we can't be crazy together, what's the point in it all? At least to be aware of it, and there's compassion for everybody, and compassion for myself,
and able to exert a little bit of restraint at times.
Well, that might be in question.
I see.
No, well, maybe that's just it. Maybe that is the question: how much to restrain? How much to just let something be? How much to tug at the problem, how much to let go of the problem. I mean, just to know that it is all crazy and it's all just a story. What does one do when there's a complex going on that involves others? What's one's responsibility? I mean, I did say to them, I'm really angry. I don't want to speak to you for a while, and I'm sure we'll work this out. So I think I've done some diligence.
Yeah.
But the mind is now needing to defend itself, or the ego's needing to defend itself. Or really, like, in terms of what I did wrong, I'm kind of like, I don't have a problem with my choice. I do have a problem with her choice.
Conflict.
Yeah. Anyway, it feels good just to be able to acknowledge the madness, and in comparison, what's really going on in the world, this is so... Yeah. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Birch. What a gift for us. You're looking at the chat, Joy?
Yes, I just wanted to remind everyone that I'm kind of an idiot, so don't listen too closely.
I kind of shrank when you said that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The harshness against yourself. You know, you're just an ordinary person that is doing the best you can, and you're practicing. You're turning to face into these issues, which is so rare.
Oh, yeah, it's much easier to send the judgments to the people around me.
Right.
Like it was their problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for the conversation.
Great.
It's a complicated world for sure.
Our minds are, that's for sure.
By the way, up here, there's a new stat holiday to recognize residential school survivors, which is kind of important because the Indigenous community felt there was a genocide, and there's some evidence for that. So we'll be acknowledging that trauma today.
Mary Joy, I'm going to just add to that. It was a genocide. And we've got thousands of children that were extraordinarily abused by women and men of different religions and state-sanctioned processes, gathering them up and taking them away from their culture. It is a profound day in that sense that our nation is actually giving everybody a day off to actually reflect on the madness and the horror of what we're still continuing to do by extension of not dealing with what we did deal with in the past. So, it's a profound day to be together on it.
Yes, thank you.
We had several conversations about this at Hollyhock. And I don't remember the numbers well, but I think it's 6 of 35 schools they've done the ground penetrating radar at, and they're at 6,000 children. It could be 100,000. It didn't end until 1969. I think it was 60. It might have been 79. The last residential school closed. It's these things are so huge, aren't they?
Makes me think that all these petty conflicts are such a distraction from the horrors, the true suffering.
Well, I think it's true suffering to have conflict in a relationship too, you know. It's the ubiquitous nature of dukkha. Sometimes it's on the scale of a genocide, and sometimes it's on the scale of someone won't return your text and you're missing them or something, you know. There's so many ways that we suffer from dukkha. I'm really impressed that Canada is taking this so seriously from the top. That's not happening here, of course. Well, that certainly opened up a sub-basement of feeling for me. Sobering. Woo. Hi, James.
Hi, it's James. Well, I just this whole conversation has really got my wheels turning. So powerful start to the day for me. So thank you. Like, yeah, I've got all of that, and I had no idea about the children. That's just I don't think I even have the words. So wow. Such a small thing can be have such immense, huge. Wow. So thank you. My wheels are definitely turning now.
May they turn into great love and compassion. I do find it, in a way, very useful to be reminded of these horrors, because it does put my personal dissatisfactions and the everyday dukkha in a very different perspective. Doesn't mean the everyday dukkha isn't really real, but David just wrote a sentence that's being employed. As a vehicle for awareness today in Canada is every child matters. Every child matters. This is a moment when this medium is an impediment. we can provoke deep openings into grief, into loss, into anger, into despair. And I know lots of things to do when we're in the same room together to reconnect in love and spaciousness, and somehow or another to put a frame of Sangha around the emergence of the anguish. I'm not so good at doing that, or I'm not so. I find it harder. It's one of the reasons I haven't. I've been talking about offering a Remembering Death Day, but I've been hesitant because who knows what could be triggered, as it is in such things, and then how do we hold each other? How do we create a container which can support us as individuals? I just had a thought. I've been doing this a bunch lately. From Ruth King, those beautiful statements. So I invite you to pick someone to see on this screen. You belong to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I belong to you. Otherwise, you would not have come. Let yourself really see this person. Your heart and my heart are very old friends. I belong to you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. You belong to me. Otherwise, you would not have come. Your heart and my heart are very old friends. It's interesting to do this with different persons, isn't it? You belong to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I belong to you. Otherwise, you would not have come. My heart and your heart are very old friends. That last phrase is so beautiful, Rumi-ish, isn't it? I belong to you, otherwise I would not be here. You belong to me, otherwise you would not have come. Your heart and my heart are very old friends. And with one more person, I belong to you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. You belong to me. Otherwise, you would not have come. My heart and your heart are very good friends. That feels a little better to me. And perhaps let's close today just with the gong. Let it just ring down. I always damp down the gong so it doesn't ring on so long, but I'll just let it ring all the way down and then have a beautiful day. Thursday. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. May those survivors of those schools feel the compassion which is emerging for their plight. May all of us who are subject to suffering of so many kinds, may we remember our true nature. May we be kind and compassionate with our own suffering, with our own anger and fear and loneliness, jealousy. Let us not reject any of it. Human again. Thank you, dear friends. What a beautiful morning. Till soon, may we all be safe. Preparing for the leap to hyperspace. Goodbye, friends on Facebook and YouTube. Glad this